And look, for those of you that don't know, we are looking at the updated CFP rankings. And real quick, now that we have Anthony in here, let's go ahead and talk about it. We see there's two names that are not on this list. For me in the ACC, it's SMU, which has been one of the biggest surprises this year, along with Indiana. But
Mm-hmm.
Georgia, after their loss to Ole Miss, is not on this list. And I'm going to tell you, there's two schools of thought for me. One, obviously, in the last X amount of years, they've only lost to two different teams. Bama, they lost to it three times, and then they are two or three times, and then they lost to Ole Miss this last weekend. But I,
Yep.
I was still very shocked that they were not on this list. They haven't been playing the best, but still, I thought with the strength of schedule, the fact that how they are in the SEC, they definitely would at least got on there at some point, man. What are your thoughts about that?
I'm not shocked one bit.
Ooh.
So you got to look at it. You've got undefeated Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Texas, who's the leader in the SEC right now due to only having the one loss. I know Georgia beat them, but Texas is the leader right now in the SEC, so they get that second seed. BYU gets the third seed. Miami gets the fourth seed, so those ones are out of the way already.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at the remaining 8 spots. You've got Ohio State with one loss, Penn State with one loss, Indiana with no losses, Tennessee with one loss, Notre Dame with one loss, Miami with one loss, Alabama with 2 losses, and Ole Miss with 2 losses, with Boise State getting that other spot only with one loss. But Alabama and Ole Miss are the 2 losses to Georgia.
Yep.
So you have to put them below those 2.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, this made total sense today. Now, if they beat Tennessee like I'm expecting them to, they'll climb right back in.
Yeah.
But to me, it made total sense for them to be the first team out this week.
Right. And we know there's a lot of Georgia fans that are losing their minds. Obviously, Paul Feinbaum was out there talking about it's a travesty that, Georgia's
It's
not
an
in
SEC
here.
team. Of course, he's complaining about it.
Exactly. But look, like I said, hold on to your pants. It's not the end of the season yet. Y'all still have time to change it. But to your point, when you talk about the 2 losses and the 2 teams that they lost to are in on the bracket, I mean, come on, you got to do it. And let me ask you this: does anything we talk about strength of schedule, we talk about wins and losses, but what about your play? Because Georgia has been struggling at times. Obviously, Colin and Anthony will tell you Carson Beck is throwing it more to the other team than his own team. You know what I mean? So does that play into it?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I think a lot of it is the result. But then I think once you kind of start to get to the end of the rankings where you're picking who's 9, 10, 11, mostly because Boise State will probably end up 12.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're getting to those last 3 spots and you're kind of picking through them with a fine-tooth comb, then you start to see, okay, against these same opponents, these guys struggled a bit more, so maybe we'll drop them. Right. I think that could absolutely be true. I think a lot of it, too, is going to come down to who's playing in the SEC championship game, given that those last 3 spots have been filled with SEC right now. Right. If the conference championship game was to happen today, it's actually Tennessee versus A&M.
Mm.
Just because they've played one more game in conference than Texas has.
Right.
But you've got Texas right behind at 4-1, then Georgia 5-2, Ole Miss 4-2, Alabama 4-2. So they're all right there.
Mm-hmm.
So if Tennessee loses to Georgia today, then it's back to A&M and Texas.
Right.
But then if either of them slip up, then Georgia's right there.
Oh, yeah. And A&M and Texas got to play at the end of the year. So one of them is going to knock the other team off.
Yep.
Anthony said offense can't block. Defense is Jekyll and Hyde, depending on their opponent. Receivers can't catch. A cold in a room full of unmasked pneumonia patients. Oh, my God. I still love them, but no. God, I'll give this to you right now. You're a realistic dog fan, my guy.
Yeah, that's an accurate assessment of the team right now. Now, I think a little bit extreme, but it's an accurate representation of what's going on with Georgia right now. There are holes in the armor for the first time in 4 or 5 years.
And this is going to be very interesting to see, Kirby, the offensive coordinator, Bobo, how they're able to adjust down the line. I mean, it's not going to get any easier. You might as well say they're in the playoff now, because with their schedule in the SEC, I can't even give them Georgia Tech at the end of the year with how well they've been playing. Obviously, we saw they just upset Miami. So I think it's going to be tough down the line.